that stresses you out. I want you to think about something that causes you maybe some anxiety. Get that one thing in your mind. And then I want you to look at this image on the screen and take notice to the one word that you seem to be focusing on. The one word that maybe represents how you're feeling, how the stress is making you feel. I'll just keep that. I'll keep this up for a little bit more. Just the one word that your eye seems to land on. Your eyes seem to land on. Okay, so we're going to come out of the screen share. All right. So was everyone, you could give me a thumbs up. So you can give me a thumbs up is yes, thumbs down is no. If you have your camera off, you can also participate. Hi, Sharon. How are you? Welcome, welcome. If you have your camera off, you can also participate by clicking reactions and then choosing raise hand. So, or excuse me, clicking reactions and choosing the thumbs up. If it's a yes, if it's a no, you can type no in the chat box. All right, here's the question. I want you to think about that thing that was giving you stress. And then I want you to also think about the word that your eyes focused on. And when you have both of those, can you give me a thumbs up letting me know yes? Or a thumbs down letting me know no, I don't. Okay. Or you can type yes or no in the chat box. Okay. All right. So I'm going to assume that most everybody. Okay, good. So this is what I want you to do. I want you to choose a number that represents your level of stress, and that is between 0 and 10. Think about what your level of stress is, what the level of whatever word you chose, how that makes you feel from 0 to 10. The first number that comes to mind is the number. Don't argue with yourself. You don't have to share the number with me. You just have to remember it. Okay. So give me a thumbs up if you have your number or a yes in the chat box. Okay, great, great. Thank you, Greg. Thank you, Ruth. Thank you, Bob. Thank you, Sharon. Maxine, do you have your number? Good, good, good. Thank you, Shirley. Thank you, Alice. Annie, do you have your number? I'm going to assume that you do. So I want you to remember that number. We're going to come back to it. But for now, let's just explore some things that will help us to begin to not stress. So I want you to follow the words and look at the image as I read them. The present moment is the only time over which we have dominion. That's by Thich Nhat Hanh. Mindfulness isn't difficult. We just need to remember to do it. And that is by Sharon Salzberg. If you want to conquer the anxiety of life, live in the moment, live in the breath. And that is by Amit Ray. So I want to start off with something that we often don't think about. I know I never really thought about the inside of my lungs. I think people in the medical profession, especially if they specialize in lungs, think about it every day. But I just wanted to give you a reminder and an image of the act of breathing. So when we inhale oxygen, excuse me, and that oxygen goes into both of our lungs. Okay, we have a diaphragm. That diaphragm pulls downward and expands the lungs when we're able to take a deep and full breath. But normally when people are breathing, the diaphragm is not really moving much at all. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. And then we exhale carbon dioxide. If the diaphragm was engaged and pulled downward, then the diaphragm would move back up and help to expel that carbon dioxide from the lungs. So that's a really simple explanation of breathing. That this is the act of breathing, what all of us do all of the time without thinking about it. So now that we kind of reviewed what breathing is, let's explore what shallow breathing is. So shallow breathing is chest breathing. And if I go back to this image here, what that means, chest breathing means that the oxygen is not going all the way down to the bottom of the lungs. Maybe the oxygen is just staying about here. Okay, because maybe the amount that you're inhaling, you're just inhaling with your chest, that it reaches your chest. Shallow breathing. So let's go back and explore a little bit about shallow breathing. Okay. It can happen when you inhale through the mouth. It can happen if you're holding your breath, or sometimes people don't realize that they're holding their breath in between breaths. So they might not be breathing regularly. They might be holding their breath. That causes shallow breathing. The shallow breathing also limits the diaphragm range of motion. I said I would come back to that. So if you're not taking a deep breath, you're not moving the diaphragm. If you're shallow breathing, oxygen does not get down to the lower parts of the lungs. And that's where the small blood vessels are. And that's important for you to be able to get the oxygen to that part of the lungs, because you want the blood vessels to be able to get a full share of oxygenated air. So as a result of shallow breathing, it can cause you to feel short of breath and anxious.